When people hear the word autism for the first time, many don't really know what it means. Some imagine it as an illness, others as a disability, and some think of it as something that needs to be fixed. But none of that really captures what autism is. Here's the thing, autism isn't a disease. It isn't something someone has, and certainly not something that can be removed. It's a natural variation in how the brain processes the world. And let's take a closer look at that. A simple way to picture this is to think of physical traits. Some people have light skin and get sunburned easily, others tan quickly. Some have blue eyes and feel bothered by bright light, others don't. Nobody would call that an illness, right? It's just biology. Autism is similar, but instead of skin or eye color, it's about how the brain handles sensory and social information. And once you see it like that, a lot becomes clearer, because the root of autism lies in perception, in how sights, sound, touch, smell, tastes, and internal signals are filtered and interpreted. Everyone's brain receives the same input, but not everyone experiences it the same way. So some people, for example, hear background noise only faintly, while others hear everything at once. Voices, footsteps, the hum of a lamp, distant movement, without being able to automatically tune it out. It isn't that their hearing is better in their ears, it's that their filtering system just works differently in their brain. And if you think about that, that explains quite a lot. Because autism exists on a spectrum, which means it shows up in many different ways. Some autistic people speak early and others later. Some are very social, others prefer small groups of structured interaction. And some are sensitive to light or touch, and others seek more intense input. And these differences aren't contradictions. They all belong to the same broad spectrum of neurodivergence. And you know what? That actually makes perfect sense, because the spectrum is so wide, there isn't one autistic profile. Instead, each person has a unique combination of strengths, sensitivities, and ways of thinking. Some excel in detailed analysis, pattern recognition, and deep focus, and others struggle more with unpredictable environments or rapid change. And many fall somewhere in between, with traits that are noticeable but not disabling. Or let me put it another way. It's also important to understand what autism is not. It's not caused by parenting, lifestyle, personality, or choice. It's not the result of something going wrong. It's simply a different way of processing information, like a different rhythm of attention. And once you look at it from this angle, behavior suddenly becomes much more easier to understand. Avoiding eye contact, for example, might not be shyness, it could be sensory overload. Repetitive movements might not be odd, they may help organize the nervous system. Needing structure isn't just stubbornness, it's a way to create predictability in a world that just feels too intense sometimes. We often underestimate how differently people can perceive the same space. In a room that feels calm to one person, the other person might feel overwhelmed. Or a busy street might energize someone and exhaust someone else. The thing is, perception shapes reality, and autistic perception simply emphasizes different details. And honestly, once you realize that, everything shifts a little. Understanding autism begins with noticing these differences without judgment. It means recognizing that what feels effortless to one person might require energy for another. And not because of weakness, but because their sensory world is arranged differently. Autism isn't a tragedy or a defect or something to cure. It's a variation of the human brain. One that brings challenges, yes, but also unique strengths and perspectives. And this is really the heart of it. When we look at autism through the lens of perception instead of stereotypes, it becomes much more easier to understand. And once we understand, it becomes much more easier to communicate, to support, and to connect. Not by changing who someone is, but by acknowledging how they experience